Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's broadcast. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds in 3 years. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays on my live stream, or outside of my live stream, you can consider joining our Discord. There is a link for that down in the description below. Also, down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. We get asked a lot of times what our family's favorite whole food plant-based meals are, and that Pinterest board has a lot of our favorite recipes saved to it. So if you're interested in getting some ideas, that is a great place to go and check that out. Today is day 661 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds, which kind of puts it right at let me see where I'm at. Sorry, I got a bunch of stuff in front of me. I'm just trying to, so that would put me at about 22 months in. So, day 661, I have lost over 200 pounds using a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food plant-based salt, oil, sugar-free diet. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear them. It is typically my weigh-in Wednesday, even though I'm not weighing in today. But if any of you guys have any non-scale or on-scale victories you'd like to share, I'd love to hear your on-scale victories. And just how are you guys doing on your diets? I'm going to talk a little bit about diet longevity here today. I was hoping to get more prepared before I talked about this, but you know, it is what it is. So we're going to switch over to the main here. A couple people checking in saying hello. Christy M, Linda McNamara, Rick Hutchins, all saying hi. Hi to everybody checking out the video. Anthony checking in saying hi. I hope you guys all had a wonderful afternoon and day today. I think I have a single photo of, actually, you know what? I took a bunch of photos from dinner last night because I was excited about dinner last night. And let me work on getting this all connected because I was running a little behind getting started here. So we'll get that up and running. So yesterday, Carrie was asking what I wanted for dinner, and something that we've had a few times over the past couple months that I've really found that I enjoy, and it seems to be fairly simple, is taking a bunch of vegetables and baking them and putting them together. Pretty Girl's mom checking in saying hello, Pretty Girl's mom. So what Carrie did was she took some root vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, and carrots. She cut them up, put them on a tray. She might have pre-cooked the potatoes, but then she put everything on a baking tray, threw it in the oven to kind of crisp it up. Let me pull this here. So this is the, like I said, the root vegetables, the potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots. Threw some seasoning on them, baked them up, and then took some other vegetables. And this isn't on the tray. This is already out of the tray, but there's onions, mushrooms, zucchini, peppers in there, and a bunch of other vegetables. She marinated the mushrooms a little bit to give them some flavor. And then she had all of this on a baking tray and cooked these. And then I took the potatoes and the vegetables, or the root vegetables, and the other veggies, mixed them all up in a bowl. There was some brown rice available. I did not end up putting it in there, but I could have put brown rice in there. I didn't realize that we had that made for this reason. So there is just a couple pictures of the bowl of veggies that I had for dinner. And I had 2 bowls of this last night. Really no guilt in eating 2 bowls of vegetables like this. Calorie density is way down on it. Not sure what was in the marinade. It might have been liquid aminos. So they're, but you know, this is salt, oil, sugar free. Outside of maybe what was in the marinade of the mushrooms. And then Christy says that they are down 40 pounds. Congratulations on being down 40 pounds. You are feeling stalled because you're allowing too much salt, oil, and sugar-loaded foods into your diet. I am right there with you, Christy. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But this was dinner. This was awesome. This morning, I didn't take a photo of it, but I had oatmeal for breakfast, this morning. And, I don't have, let's see. And then, let's pull out of this here. So that was, the food from yesterday. Feeling really good about food overall. And that dinner last night gave me a chance to really fill up, because the thing that's really nice about eating this whole food plant-based diet is eating that volume of food. But then when you allow the salt, oil, sugar into the diet, you change that calorie density. So then you start kind of, I feel like, whether it's conscious or not, at least for me, restricting the amount of food that I'm eating overall then, because I'm having this high calorie food. And so I get worried that I'm going to be eating too much. So then I don't eat the volume of food that I feel like, I should be really, eating. Pretty Girl's mom says, nice 50-50 bowls. Yes, those were pretty much a 50-50 plate bowl, 50% starch, 50%, what do you call it? Vegetable. Yes, they were some good 50-50 bowls. And I was going to talk a little bit today. So I talked about food. I finished up listening to the interview that Chef AJ did last week with Dr. Lisle. And really good interview. I would recommend taking the time to checking out that interview. If I did longer form lives, I would probably watch the interview and talk about it. But there were a few different topics that he talked about. And I know I talked about a lot of this yesterday. The big thing he talked about in the last half of the interview that I listened to today was kind of how our biological mechanisms for satisfying our hungers kind of work. And he talked a little bit about, the last question somebody had asked in the interview was about avoiding pistachios specifically. But in my case, I would say cashews, like there was I have felt like it. Sometimes I was overeating of cashews, and this person was talking about how they felt like they were overeating, of pistachios. Anyways, and the way the Dr. Lisle kind of talked about it is something that I kind of needed to hear. I knew it was part of it. But he talks about how we're all kind of wired to go for the easiest solution to satisfy our cravings or our needs, whether it's food or just anything. And he gives an example of a rabbit. If a rabbit is in a 40-acre field and it finds carrots on the northeast corner of that 40-acre field one day, the next day when it wakes up and it gets hungry, it's going to go to the northeast corner of the field because that's the last place that they remember going to satisfy their hunger. And it wouldn't make sense biologically if they know that yesterday there were carrots in the northeast corner. It wouldn't make sense biologically for them to wake up the next day and say, well, I should go check the southwest corner. It would make sense biologically. Hey, I knew there were carrots up in the northeast corner. Let's go back up to the northeast corner and see if there's still carrots there. And if there is, we'll eat carrots. If there's not, then we'll search from the northeast corner down south. And eventually we may end up going to the southwest corner, but we wouldn't start in the southwest corner. And our food is the same way. When you allow yourself to eat pistachios, I'm just going to go on with his example. And you know that the store down the street from you sells pistachios. When you get hungry, your mind is going to put an image of pistachios in front of you, and you're going to say, hey, I know how to get pistachios quick and easy. I can run down to the store and I can buy pistachios. They have them down at the store. And so what the doctor talks about in the interview is that you have to create a distance between you and that knowledge that the food source is there. And if you, like the rabbit with the carrot, if the rabbit went and got a carrot today and came back tomorrow, he would likely think that there would be carrots in the northeast corner. But then if he doesn't go and check the northeast corner to see if there's carrots for a week, then his confidence that there are carrots in the northeast corner is going to diminish because it has been time has passed since he last was there. And so there's a chance that other animals came and started eating those carrots, and they're all gone now. And your body works off that same mechanism. Now, it's hard to convince yourself that the store would never have pistachios again, but the longer you can go between visits to that store, or the longer you can avoid going to that store to satisfy that need, then eventually your brain and your wiring is going to readjust to the knowledge that that is not a source of calories for you anymore. And it takes time to get to that point. And what he talked about in the interview, towards the end of the interview, is that there is no magic pill to get you through that period of time. There's no per se thing that's going to make it it's going to make it not difficult. It's going to make it easy. And that you have to white knuckle through that time period. And I think that when you start your diet, it's really easy to white knuckle through those periods because you have so much motivation to get to where you're wanting to go. But as you get into your diet, it does get harder to white knuckle those things because you've done lots of things to change your diet. And so, I really liked the interview that Chef AJ did with Dr. Lisle. There were other points from the interview that are worth listening to, but I think that one of the things I needed to hear was that I just have to push through, put myself in scenarios where I'm not having to talk myself out of buying a tempting junk food or something that has sugar in it, and just white knuckle through it. So, I missed a couple comments here. It says Rick said that he did weigh in today and he lost another 3 pounds, which is awesome. If you guys haven't seen Rick's update photo in our Discord, I would recommend going and checking that out. He's done an amazing job to lose weight. So that's awesome that you're down another 3 pounds. Sorry, I missed that. And then Anthony is wanting to start a new carrot mart. Maybe. The title of the stream today is Dealing with a Mid-Diet Crisis. I think that I could go on about this for a long time. I think that it's something that probably would, deserves a lot of better explanation that I'll be able to do in the little bit of time that I'm on here. But I think that the idea of a mid-diet crisis is an interesting idea. Many times I feel like in the past I've had diets fail, and it's always been in the middle of trying to lose weight. Like I've never gotten to a weight where I would say I succeeded in making it to a healthy adult weight. I've had lots of weight loss where I've lost 50 pounds or 100 pounds or as much as 130 or so pounds. And I was always still very overweight, even after losing that weight. And something happened to wreck my diet. And in hindsight, looking back, I think that it's been a lot of the same things that have wrecked those diets, or at least underlying conditions behind the collapses of those diets. And a big part of it is not understanding the longevity that it takes to fix these problems that we've created. In that interview with Chef AJ and Dr. Lisle, they also talked about he specifically talks about Chef AJ's weight loss and how Chef AJ had lost 54 pounds over the course of 27 months or something like that. And he kind of explains it in the interview in that she lost 54 pounds. That's amazing. But then when you say that it took 27 months to do that, then you have to look at how that broke down. And when she first started losing weight, she probably lost 3 pounds a month or 4 pounds a month. But then by the time she got to the end, she might have only been losing 1 pound a month. And so while it can be very quick to lose weight at first, and those first 20 pounds seem to be easy to get off, no matter kind of what diet you seem to go with, and 20 might be high, but the first bit of weight is easy to get off, and then it slows down. And I think that many people get the idea that it's going to be a quick fix and it's going to be a linear drop in weight. And whatever I do week 1 to lose 2 pounds is going to be the exact same thing I need to do in week 30 to lose 2 pounds. And it's not the case. It's very much different. And we have to adjust and we have to learn throughout the process. I think that there's been so many diets in the past for me that it's been all or nothing. And that really makes it difficult to deal with that mid-diet kind of lull that you're going to get into, because it's just not going to last. I mean, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Linda says that you're still at the early stages that I'm talking about. You started on August 1st and you've lost 6 pounds. Yes, I think that there's a congrats on the 6 pounds for one since August 1st. That's amazing. There's this part of me that didn't really think through this whole challenge. I knew I needed to lose a lot of weight and I knew it was going to take a lot of time. And when I started this, I thought a lot about the beginning and I seemed to think a lot about the end, but I feel like I overlooked the middle part. It was going to be the bulk of the time that I do this. And I didn't realize that this middle part is where most people fail, where I've failed. Like, and it's something that even in the face of the adversity of getting through this period of time, that I know it's going to be worth it. And I also have to be kind to myself in that I'm really in territory that I've never been in before. I can't say that my diet has been perfect for the last 661 days, but there has been no day in the last 661 days where my diet has been worse than it was 662 days ago. And it's hard to remind myself that even when I'm slipping up or having days that I'm making choices that I know aren't the best choice, that the choices I'm making on these days are far better than the choices I used to make. And because I'm so far removed from that version of me that used to make those awful choices, I forget it a little bit. Like I compare myself today to me 2 months into this diet, and the version of me today compared to that person 2 months into this diet I'm not reaching that point. Like I'm not doing as good as I was 2 months in, but I'm doing far better than I was before I started this. And it's something where it's easy to get discouraged because you give into some of these temptations, but I'm still far better than I was before I started. The other parts about the mid-diet crisis that I was going to talk about too is I think that there's lots. I wish I would have done more research, or I had more research to talk, because I don't know much about, midlife crisis overall, but I do know that some of what a midlife crisis is that you look at where you are now and you project that into the future. And can you imagine having to do this thing the rest of your life? And the idea of doing that the rest of your life becomes daunting. And I think that happens with the diet, and specifically with a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet. You look at where you're at and what you're eating, and you compare that to what you used to eat or what you could be eating. And in many categories, the other diet, the bad diet, wins when it comes to pleasure from your diet. And it may not win out on what's going to make you live longest, but when you're looking at your diet future and you don't see cake in your future again, and you don't see donuts in your future again, and you see root vegetables the rest of your life, or brown rice the rest of your life, you start to question those choices. And if you're going to be able to sustain those choices the rest of your life, and you have maybe an internal dialogue that says, well, if you don't believe that you can sustain this the rest of your life, then why try sustaining it? And so it gives you a reason to quit sooner. It gives you that excuse where you say, well, if I'm going to fail anyways, why not fail now? And that is another part of this mid-diet crisis I feel like I've run into a couple times really over the year, and I thought I was pushed through it. What happened last year, kind of to start 2022, I had recommitted. I was about 30 pounds heavier than I am now, and I was frustrated because I had been allowing these temptations that have kind of been plaguing my diet for a year now. And I was coming to the realization that there are foods that I'm not going to see again, or the foods that, the realization that I came to was that there's not a difference between the weight loss diet and the maintenance diet that I'm going to eat when I get to my goal. And I'm still having a hard time with this concept, but I guess what it stems from is these restrictive diets that I've eaten my whole life. That there's been no diet prior to starting this challenge that I could look at and say, yes, that way of eating is sustainable for the rest of your life. Many of the diets that I was on were sub 1,200 calories, some sub 1,000 calorie diets, and they would be great for weight loss. Amazing for weight loss, losing multiple pounds a week. But the longevity of those diets was not there. The sustainability was impossible. And while I was eating those diets, I knew that those diets were unsustainable, that I wasn't going to be able to continue to eat 600 calories the rest of my life. But as long as I did it until I got to my goal weight. And then when I got to my goal weight, then I could figure out how to eat. That was the diet plan for me for 38 years. Eat nothing till you get to your goal weight and then figure it out. This diet is different. Eating a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet is the maintenance diet. And by eating the maintenance diet, you will get to your goal weight. I know that is the way it is. I still have a hard time with comprehending and putting that into practice because it's not the way I've dieted in the past or I've had success with weight loss in the past. But it is the only way I have lost weight in this past year and a half is when I have been on plan, and I keep trying to mess with that plan and say, hey, maybe I can have a snack on Saturdays. Maybe I can try some of my kids' foods. Maybe I can indulge every now and then and still succeed. And that is not necessarily the case. So then what I then have to do is decide where I want to stand on that mountain that is the whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free perfection hill or perfection mountain. And this is an example that Dr. Lisle has talked about, and he talked about in this interview too, that there is a whole spectrum of diets from the way I used to eat all the way up to eating a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet. I really don't know that you could name a diet that somebody would consider cleaner or healthier than a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet. And so you have to decide where on that mountain you want to be with your diet, either eating the 20,000 or the 10,000 calories of junk food at the bottom of the mountain, or the perfect SOS, as Dr. Lisle puts it, eating like Alan Goldhamer. It would be the pinnacle of the diet. There's success. You can find success a lot of places on that mountain, especially when you were starting at the bottom like I was. Any change to my diet is going to bring me up higher onto that mountain. Where I run into my frustrations is that I've eaten perfectly for months and had great success eating perfectly for months. Is that where I want to be forever? Or am I going to have some instances where I allow foods that aren't salt, oil, sugar free in? And then if I do allow foods that aren't salt, oil, sugar free in, what foods do I allow in and what amounts do I allow in? And then you start getting into, by allowing those things in, then you're slowing down your progress. So, it's kind of that's crazy. I thought I had this set that you had to be, a member to, you have to be a follower or something to, yeah, I'm not sure. Trying to delete these unwanted things. So, let me see. Let's see. Rick was asking, you don't get the no salt aspect. Your blood pressure is perfect, and salt does not increase your desire to eat any different. So, the salt is something that there's a few different books. So one of the books that talks specifically about salt would be Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss. He talks a lot about salt. There's as far as for weight loss, what I would say with salt is that they have found that when you salt food, it leads to more of a chance of overeating or having excess calories. And the example that they give is, I think it's in the Pleasure Trap book, is if you take a bowl of popcorn and I give you a bowl of unsalted popcorn and say, eat till you're satisfied, you would eat, let's say, half of that bowl of popcorn. If I gave you that same bowl of popcorn and I salted the popcorn and I said, eat it till you're satisfied, most people are going to eat more popcorn. And when you're talking about popcorn, not that big a deal. If you're talking about broccoli, not that big a deal. In fact, some of the doctors say that if it requires you to put salt on your broccoli so that you eat the broccoli, that it's worth putting the salt on. But so when you're salting healthy foods, it might be negligible. But if you are looking at things like potato chips, if you would eat half a bag of potato chips unsalted, that's far different than you eating 3/4 of a bag of potato chips salted, because the potato chips calorie density is really high because it's cooked in oil. And so the salt is a lot because of the overeating or the mindless eating that is caused from having the salt. The book Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss talks a little bit more about the chemical aspects of it, and a lot of it is that it's a cheap way to mask bad flavoring. Like if they didn't put salt in the cereal, that like cornflakes, it would have a metallic taste to it. But because they salt it, it gets rid of that metallic taste. So there's probably other reasons for salt. But for me, it would, I could see where it would lead to overeating. I also find that I retain fluid, and I don't know if it's just the salt. I think the oil might cause a little bit of my fluid retention, but that would be the no salt. And personally, after reading these books, I actually am, so of the three, salt, oil, sugar, oil, 100%, get rid of the oil. That would be the highly recommend. I think the salt is actually probably worse than the sugar. Now, salt worse than sugar, high fructose corn high fructose corn syrup isn't sugar though. So that's kind of a weird, but like glucose, like sugar that's in fruits and vegetables, or even maybe table sugar, I would say I would probably choose to eat that over salt. And it's just, it's also something where there's this weird, like, why is nobody willing to give up salt? Like, why is everybody holding onto that so tightly? Like, when it's not necessary, maybe there's a little bit of that too. Linda said, you're working through the hard part of the journey, and seeing you push through and not giving up is inspiring. I hope so, because I'm going to get through it. But it is tough. It's tough for me to know that some days I don't make the perfect choices, and that I might only be 90% of the way up that mountain, or probably closer to 80% of the way to that, but that I'm better off than I was. And that if I continue the path I'm going to continually become better than I am now. Rick says that Dr. McDougall says white sugar is fine. Yeah. Like that's, I think that the oil is the big one. I think that almost any whole food plant-based doctor out there is going to tell you to get rid of the oil, the salt, and the sugar. If you can manage them, I think that it's a pleasure trap thing. If you can manage to not have those things, then go for it. But sometimes, I can't manage some of that stuff well. And I also am dealing a little bit with, there's things that I've removed from my diet recently, or more recent, that I may consider adding them back. And the two things are fruit juice, and the other would be the cashews. And I'm not sold on adding either of them back into my diet. But what I'm finding is that having those as a healthier alternative was better than not having them, because then I just skip to the next unhealthy thing. Or so with the juice specifically, I quit drinking the juice because I felt like it was a bunch of unnecessary calories in my diet that I was getting through liquid, that I wasn't working out anymore. Because when I first started drinking the juice, I was working out a lot more, and I was using the juice. It was cherry juice as a recovery. That's how I started it. So I got rid of cherry juice from my diet 6 months ago, but then that craving or that want for having a sweet drink, or that, it didn't go away. And because I had taken the cherry juice out of my options of things, I think that kind of led to me having a soda. And then having a soda became acceptable. And had I never got rid of cherry juice from my diet, I don't think I ever would have had the soda. Or if I was drinking the soda or had the soda, I wouldn't have drank as many sodas, because I would have had an option that may not have been perfect, but it was better than drinking a soda. Pretty Girl's mom says, not for you. I imagine that's the sugar. Everyone's addictions seem to be a little bit different. Yes, absolutely. I think we all have our little bit of taste preference differences. And we have different histories, because there's a lot of psychology behind what you eat too. Because with the soda, there's one type of soda I've allowed myself to really drink. And then to me, I was like, well, I'm restricting myself because I'm not allowing myself to have Coca-Cola or Mountain Dew. I'm just drinking this. And I think that because of my history, that's why I chose that type of drink to drink. And so Yeah, everybody has a little bit different addictions. Um, Barb says that some people struggle with self-care, regulating the amount of sugar, and so a little quickly becomes a lot. Or yeah, you think that you survived having a little bit day one, so you have a little bit plus, on day two, and then you have that plus a little bit more day three, and so it can become a slippery slope with that. Rick says, "Oh my God, I love cashews. You just can't buy them." Yes, that's uh, the thing with the cashews. Again, I was getting some fat through cashews, and I probably have made food choices again had there been cashews in the cupboard versus barbecue potato chips, that I probably would have had the cashews over the barbecue potato chips. But in a perfect world, I would have neither. Linda says that they've been enjoying fruit flavor herbal teas made as a cold brew beverage. You use Country Peach Passion tea is delicious when it's cold. It tastes just like peach juice to you. And then Pretty Girl's mom says that they like that tea as well. Yeah, I haven't gotten into drinking a lot of teas. Carrie drinks some every now and then. Just not anything I've ever been in practice of doing or had. It may be better to have that versus juices. And Pretty Girl's mom did make a comment about juice doesn't have any fiber. Yes. And that, obviously choosing to eat the whole fruit over the juice would be the top choice. It's just tough to yeah, it's one of those things where, again, having access or drinking that amount of fruit juice going to cause an improvement in my diet overall again. Or there's the bit I talked about earlier, is that I just got to white knuckle it and get a week under my belt where I haven't had any of those temptation foods, and so then it doesn't become a thing. Because like, even in the listening to that interview and talking here about the foods I've allowed myself to have, like, I know what gas stations sell the soda I want to drink, or I know what foods have the food I want to drink. And so you have a hard time talking myself what it is. So Sonia says, you don't think blaming getting rid of the cherry juice for falling into soda is a sound idea. It seems like focusing on the benefits of water would lead you down a better path. Yeah, I'm not saying that I drank the soda because it was my fault. There was a lot of negotiating that went into my head before I drank my first soda, I would say, I guess. But and it wasn't just the fact that I didn't have cherry juice, but I guess what I would say is that if I had cherry juice at home and I knew that there was cherry juice at home, I would have been less apt to stop at a gas station on my way home and buy a soda. The real solution would be to make sure I have plenty of water on hand, that whenever I do get thirsty and whenever I think to have a soda, that I drink water. And that would be the correct thing that I should do. Or like you said, the focusing on the benefits of the water, or how much better the water is for me than the juice. But at the time, those decisions are made with emotion and, you know, dopamine responses. Maybe this got switched to, not, I had this set to just whatever subscribers could chat, but I'm getting these stupid spams. So I kind of went long today. I think I talked about the mid diet crisis that I feel like I'm in the middle of, and I'm working my way through live on camera with you guys. I it's my rational head, or my, my educated mind knows that being perfect is going to get me much better results. But there's a little bit of a, it's not all my rational mind that's making all my decisions. So, Chrissy says, I appreciate your honesty. Yeah. I mean, it's all part of it. I mean, it's something that I knew going in that it wasn't going to be a perfect 3 years. I hoped, I suppose, that it was going to be a perfect 3 years. But this period of time was inevitable, and, I'm just got to manage it. And eating a whole food plant-based diet is really, I think, one of the only reasons I'm still here and talking. I think, I don't see any other way that, I would have had this kind of longevity with it. I don't see eating a keto diet or a carnivore diet or a paleo diet or any of these diets that are calorie restrictive, volume restrictive. I was never able to sustain them. And if you're able to sustain a calorie restricted diet, I think that's great. But eating this volume, low calorie density diet has really changed my perspective on diet and my perspective on eating. And while it isn't a fast process, it hasn't been tough to get back into. Like, there was a quote that Chef AJ shared from Dr. Goldhamer at the end of the video too, I thought was interesting. And essentially it was, food is your energy. It doesn't have to taste great. It just has to taste not bad. And it's hard to accept that and to really be like, okay, let's embrace that idea. So, Rick, Barb, thanks for the compliments. Yeah, great. I appreciate all you guys so much. So it's just, like I said, I know that everybody's out there struggling with dieting and figuring out what to do. You have to look at where you're at and maybe not compare yourself to where you were 2 months in, but compare yourself to where you were before you started. You're better off now, or I'm better off now than I was when I started. And even not being perfect, I'm still better than I was, and I'm still doing better than I was. And, I said it earlier. There's been no day in the past 661 days where I have eaten a worse diet than any single day I had prior to starting this diet. The foods that I'm putting in my body are extremely nourishing, extremely healthful, and satisfying. Like, that is like being able to have 2 bowls of vegetables last night, 2 big bowls, is so satisfying. When I think of the diets where I would go home and eat a kielbasa for dinner, that was all I had all day. Of course, those diets are going to fail. So, I just messed up my screen here. Rick says he's not going back. No, I don't think that, yeah, it's not, it's a weird, like, yeah, I'm not going back. I mean, eating the whole food and nothing but the whole food seems to be the way to go. And I'm going to keep pushing through. I am going to recognize that my struggles are temporary and, but, and I'm going to work on white knuckling or continuing to white knuckle through the temptations, even though it has been difficult these past few days to come to that realization, but it's what I got to do. So again, I appreciate everybody for checking out this video. I went almost an hour today. I'm sure you guys got other shit to do. So thanks everybody for following along and being a part of this process for me and letting me talk to you guys. I don't know why I had to approve that comment. That was weird. I had to approve White Knuckles Unite. Yes. So I'm going to get out of here. I'll be live tomorrow again. I think I'm live both days this week. I don't have anything getting in the way. If you guys haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. There's no reason to wait. There's nothing coming up that's more important than your health and your overall well-being. Nobody gets to their goals and wishes they would have waited. Everybody who makes it to their goal weight wishes they would have started sooner. I am included in that as well. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, get subscribed to the channel. Click on that bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. I am out of here. I appreciate you guys. I had a great time talking to you today.